but I want to open the floor and see if we have any questions related to Project One. Again, I received a few submittals and thank you for that, but I did not receive a project from everyone. So let me first start by saying, does anyone have any questions related to the project that they would like to ask? This is actually a good time. Does anyone have anything they want to bring up? Any questions? We should have some because, again, not everyone turned their project in, and I'm assuming it is because they may have had some questions. None? Okay. This is a good time. I'm going to start asking people to maybe talk to any individual questions that they have, because again, I didn't receive everything. So let me start with, I'm going to start with Ethan. Ethan submitted his. Thank you for that, Ethan. And what I want to do is I want to share the screen, Ethan, if it's okay with you, and show your project. And what I want to do is I want to show the class what you came up with, and we're going to try to debug a real tiny issue with your project. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So Ethan submitted his project and it looks great. He's got his sprites in here, he's got his code in here, and everything is looking good. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to ask if you have your project document with you, I want to kind of go through Ethan's as a sample for the class. I'm going to go ahead and run Ethan's project. That looks great. We get to click to start, and then I'm going to go ahead and click. And then I want you to see what's going to happen to his cursor. So it's following my pointer, which is great. But as soon as I click somewhere, watch what happens to his cursor. Actually, I already made this change. All right, hold on one second. Let me try this again. Go back. I may have already made this code change. Okay. So I'm going to do that again. So when we look at it this time, notice what happens to my cursor when I hit click. I'm starting the game and it's following my cursor, which is good. But as soon as I click somewhere, you can see the cursor runs off the page and it kind of stays there. So I'll do it again. So when I go to move, I want to click here, and you can see it follows the cursor and it goes off the page.
Mr. T?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We can only see the document.
Is someone saying something?
Yes, Jacob did. We can always see the document and the class.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to debug this and see if we can find out why it's doing that. So looking at the, so most likely, and if somebody wants to speak, go right ahead. So if somebody wants to try to figure this out, that's what we want to do. So we already know it's related to the cursor sprite, right? So there's something in the logic here that might need a small change. And this is all a part, you probably already know this, but when you're building code, you know, it's a process of you build a code, you run it and see what happens, and you try to figure out what's going on. So I do this again for a living, and I can tell you that this is a big part of being a software developer. So let me have someone. I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna select someone to see if they can figure out what's going on. So let me ask that you pull up your document and go to page 7 that has the code on it. And it looks like this. Here's page 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to compare Ethan's code with the code in the document. And I'm going to ask if someone can see what may be different. And I'm going to give you a hint. It's got to do with see this line right here? Somebody tell me what's different here. Stephen, let me ask you. Do you see any differences in the code blocks here and the code blocks here?
You're stuck on the Google Classroom.
I'm sorry, say that again?
You're on the Google Classroom page.
You're on the Google Classroom grading page.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sharing the wrong screen. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm sorry. So did you guys see me running the program?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's try it again. So here's the program. Again, it looks great. I'm going to go ahead and run it, and I want you to see what happens when I start it. So it starts out great, and then we have the intro page. When I click to start, all is well, and you can see here's our cursor, which is following the mouse pointer, which is great. But when I want to move away, you can see what happens to the cursor. It runs off the page, and I can't get it to come off that page. So let's let the bugs get to it. Start it again. You can see it's not following my cursor. So what I'd like us to do is look at the code. I'll try it again. Again, it follows the mouse pointer, but when I go to click, you can see the cursor runs off the page. Okay, so let's have a look at the code. So we should know that the code is related to the cursor. So I'm clicking the cursor sprite and I'm going to the code. And this is the document that details the code for the cursor. So what I want you to do, and Stephen, I'm going to give you a clue, but tell me what is different between these blocks of code and these blocks of code here. Can you see anything? In fact, let me give Ethan a chance. Ethan, do you see any differences between the blocks of code here and the blocks of code here? Okay, I'm going to ask anybody.
I'm gonna look at it.
I see it.
Okay, who says I see it?
Me, Jacob.
Stephen? So where do you see, Stephen? What's different? Was that Jacob?
Yes.
Okay, Jacob, what do you see that's different?
If you scroll down a little bit from where it says Bing Boing, right under there's no other if do. I got the end of the code. It says play sound Bing Boing. It doesn't have another if do. Oh wait, never mind. Oh wait, no, it's not inside the forever loop.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's another one. Yep, so that's one. Good job. So this if, see what Jacob is saying? Well, in the document, it says play sound, and right under the play sound, there's this if done is true, which is right here, but this if done is true is outside of this if. So Jacob is saying that this should be placed here. And when we do that,
Oh no, not the other if do is at the end of the
right,
other.
we want to pull this if to right there.
Yes.
Right? Okay, very good. Good one. Okay, that's one. And then here's another. I'm hoping you can see this on your screens. But look at this block of code, compare it to this block of code. And they're different. And somebody tell me how they're different. How about Desiree? Desiree, can you see any differences between this block of code and this one?
No.
Okay, so maybe it's not coming through. Okay, so I'm going to see if you can, maybe it's something that you can't see, but look at this one closely. You'll see that the exposition minus the old X is inside of a circle of this line here. And that is the first parameter of the division operator. You see that? But over here, we have the old x divided by 5.5 is in a circle that's inside of the minus circle. You see that? So let me show you what we have. Let me see if I can make this bigger. So I am going to see if I can. Duplicate this. Okay. Okay, so this is what's there. And what we're trying to build, I'm going to pull this out. And you can see what we're trying to build is the outer operator is the division. And if I pull this out, you can see the inner operator is the division. So we want this to be the outer. So when I say the outer, that is this outer circle here. So the first parameter of the outer should be the minus, which is this guy. So this needs to go, let me pull this out. So do you see now, make this bigger. Hopefully you can see this. So do you see that this inner circle is the minus and the outer is the division? Do you see that? Ethan, do you see the difference there?
I see it.
Okay, because before it was like, let's see, you had it like this before. See the difference between these two? Let me make this real big so you can see it. The document wants it this way. And this is the way it was in the code. So this is important. Again, the inner circle for the division is this minus. And over here, the inner circle for this minus is the division. So we don't want this one, we want this one. So that is the difference. So if we were to do this the way the document states, we want X position and then old X. That's what we want. And we want Y position and old Y. So if we were to use these, let me pull this out completely and replace it with this. Pull this out and replace it with this. Whoops. And try that and see what happens. That looks good. That looks great. I click and let's see what happens this time. There we go. So now I'm clicking and you can see that it's moving in the direction we want. Very good. Good job. So Ethan, just make that change and resubmit. And also the change that Jacob saw as well. down in your ifs, and then we can go from there. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna get rid of all of these. Remove those.
Good.
Okay, very good. Good job on that. All right. So who else would like us to look at their code?
Me.
Stephen. Okay, so Stephen, let me pull up yours and then we will have a peek at it. Okay, so here is Stephen's code. He's got the Pac-Man thing going, looks good. So let us get out our document. First of all, let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so we have the time and the personal high score. I'm gonna run it. There's Stephen's intro, looks great. We have some music and we have the click to start. I'm going to click. That looks good. And there's the Pac-Man who's following the cursor and he actually moves. But somebody tell me what don't we see?
Bugs.
Ghost.
Exactly. We don't see the other sprites coming into the game. So let's have a look at that. So those sprites are the ghost sprites. So Stephen did create the ghost sprites and he's got 3 costumes and he has code associated with that. So that's good. So let us take a look at the code sprites that Stephen has and let's see if we see anything wrong with the code sprites. So what I'd like you to do is to help us figure out if we have any issues here. So I'm going to pull up the document to make it a little easier to compare. Okay, so here is the code associated with the sprites. Let me make this bigger. So let me have everyone take a look. Let's start with this script here and see if we see anything that's different. Does anybody see any differences with this sprite, with this script and this script? It looks good to me. So let's look at this code block here. That looks good. Let's look at these next two. This and this. Okay, so it looks like the code for this sprite is okay. So now let's think about this. So someone help us understand the intro. Again, is this, right? Then it goes to the start sprite. And then when we click on the start sprite, it starts the game. So let's look at the start sprite code and see if there's anything different there. So here is the code for that. Okay, so the one thing I would check, so you have your messages there. Okay, so that looks fine. Now let's look at this block and see. Let's look at the cursor. Okay, can someone tell me a difference here? It's got an extra show there. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay, good. You got that right. That looks good. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so your code looks good there as well. So let's see. Okay, so when you click on this, you send the broadcast start project. That gets picked up here. That's where we see that. Then you click. Let's see. It's your start page. Ah. No, so there's your green flag. You start your green flag with that. You hide and you hide.
This code is fine.
The code looks fine. So why are we not seeing these sprites?
Is there a delay on it?
Let's see. Good question. Anybody think why the ghost sprites are not showing up? Maybe it was that. Let's try that. That's not it. So for some reason, let's let it.
Wait, Mr. T, when I press like the ghost code, can you go to the ghost? And can you press the very first script? And now it comes up.
Okay, so the clone, that's a good one. So the clone works. So the clone is created here. So we click on this. And then let's see when we receive done. Okay, so it looks like this done is not being set. So let's look at, good point. So let's go back to the ghost document. That's it. So this logic here is so the ghost sprites is waiting for the done message. But if you look in the document, it should be looking for the green flag message. So if we change this to green flag, let's see what happens. So the intro looks good. Click on the start. Follows. Okay, still nothing yet. All right, so let's look again. So when the green flag,
Personal high score doesn't come up also.
what was that?
The personal high score, it doesn't show the personal high score.
Okay, so we got to look at that as well. All right, so it looks like if we can get this green flag, and the green flag should come from this, right? All right, let's try it again. So we're going to click the start. There we go. Wait a minute. Is that right? Okay, so it's still not getting that. There we go. Okay, so they're working, but now it looks like they're coming from off the stage. Let's see what happens when they touch.
Means that your coordinates are wrong.
Very good.
And as you start it, as you stop it, this ghost sprite is still there on the bottom left.
Right. Okay, so this logic works when we click and then we go to the ghost sprite. So the ghost sprite, when it gets the green flag, and again, I'm comparing it against this, the document. One second. Wait a minute. Okay, I sort of lost my document there, but 1 second. Let me get my- Wait a second. I lost my. Okay. Let's see if we can look at the ghost.
Apple bottom fifth. Almost put the
Okay, so here's the code for the ghost. So let's compare again, because there's some differences here as well. And it also could be, in fact, let's look at your sprite, the costumes. Okay, so one thing that I've noticed is when you create your sprite, they want you to create them so that they are right in the center. Sometimes that can make a small difference. So let's just put this right in the center. the center. He's already in the center, and let's put this guy. All right, so let's do that. And then, okay, I want to make sure the code is matching the document. And if you see any differences, it deletes the clone. And then and then we have this code block here. This is on the edge, touching 180. That looks okay. And we have this block here. Okay, that looks okay. So maybe what we might have here is the size of the stage. Let's see what this stage looks like. Okay, so there's the backdrop for the stage. And let's see. Okay, so that's a little better. Okay. Okay, so there's still, as someone pointed out, the personal high score also needs to be checked. And that looks like that's down here. So there's something not quite right with the personal high score logic. The one thing that I noticed, can somebody tell me the personal, see this down here? Somebody tell me some differences down in this area with the personal high score. Okay, so there's something wrong in this block. This is the document, and this is what's in the project. Somebody tell me what the differences are here. Anybody?
I know what it is.
What is it?
It's for the correct one, it's a greater sign, and for the other one, it's an equal sign.
Exactly. So here it's an equal operator, and the document says we should use the greater than. Right, Desiree? Okay, so let's change that. Let's go to our operators, and let's try this and see what happens. And give that a try. Click it, and you can see now my high score is updating. And you can also see, you can hear that Stephen has a new sound when the Pac-Man touches a ghost. There's a sound, but it doesn't stop the other music. So there is something also different there. So it's related to the music. So here, let's take a look at that. So it plays the music, but something else needs to stop the prior music. Okay. So, Stephen, what I'm going to ask that you do is the changes we made, go through your project and make those changes. Look at the document and compare things against the document, and make sure everything is the same as what's in the document, and then resubmit. But yours is looking good as well. They're getting really close on this. So look at the music. But this is looking good. And I like the theme of the Pac-Man. That's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so does anyone else have any questions? Because again, there are quite a few projects that still need to be submitted. And I really would like you to submit those. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Does anybody have any questions on that before we move on? Okay, so what I was planning to do next was I wanted to go back to a project from the book, and I wanted to assign that as our next class assignment. And I'm going to actually allow you to choose which of the two you want to do. We have the virtual snow, and the firework display. So for our next assignment, I'd like us to do, let's do the virtual snow for Wednesday. And then maybe, depending on how that goes, we can start on the music. Then I want to get to ways where we can program music using Scratch. Okay, so the next project we're going to do is going to be the virtual snow project on page 144. So let me have you do this. Let me have you just take a peek at that right now. Just take a couple of minutes and look at it. And have a close look at some of the code sprites, and let me know if you have any questions on them. This is probably a good time to ask questions on anything in here that might seem a bit confusing. So just glance through, you don't have to read through, but just glance through some of the code blocks and let me know if any of those are confusing, because quite a few of these are related to building some code blocks that have, you know, things inside of other things that are inside of other things. And the thing you need to pay close attention to is the level that they show up in. For instance, like if you look on page, let's look on page 149 under 10. Here's a good example. They have an if block, but inside of that if block is an operator, a less than, and then inside of the left portion is the Y position. And then they have minus 175. So it's important to be able to understand the different levels that we have here, like on page 15. So someone helped me build, on page 150, let me have someone help me build that first if block. Can somebody help me build, tell me what I need to pull in to build that first if statement? Can someone do that? Let me call on someone. How about Desiree? Desiree, can you help me build the if block on page 150 under 15? Do you see it? Desiree, you there? Okay, no Desiree. Anyone, how about Steven? Steven, can you help me build that if block on page 150?
Yes.
Okay, so what would you start with? You see it?
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so can anybody tell me that if block, how they would build that? Ethan, any idea?
Can you show an example of the block, please?
Okay. Do you not have the book, Jacob?
What page is it on?
Okay, so on page 150,
Okay.
and look under, on page 150, under number 15, bottom of the page. So again, I like to start with the outermost and working.
You said 150 under 15.
Yeah.
Okay, what you want to get is you want to get.
So
Well,
which,
operators.
yeah. So under operator, which one of those looks like the outermost operator?
The first one under pick random.
Right. The first one. Oh. You're saying this one here?
Oh wait, no, the one under the Eagles one.
Okay, the and.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Okay, and then you want to put touching color, which is in sensing.
Okay. Touching colors.
And then you want to put another. You want to put an equal. Go to operators and put an equal. Yes, and then you want to put pick random 1 to 5.
Very good. So did everyone get that? Very good,
Make
Jacob.
it equal to 1.
So what Jacob did here is he built this operator and he started from the outside in. And let me see if I can redo what Jacob did. So we have the if block. So what you're looking for is the outermost operator, that one that sits on the outside. And if you look at it, if I pull this operator out, whoops. Can't do that. I can't do that. 1 second. So this is what if you pull this operator out and you pull this operator out, you can see the outermost operator is the AND operator. So you always start with the outermost first. So that's why he chose the AND. And then what goes into this first option for the AND was the touching colors, which was under sensing. Then he started to build this part of the and he noticed that this is multiple code blocks, and the outermost code block there is an operator equal. So he put that there. And then this option of the equal was the random, and he put it. So if you was to follow the code, it looks like this. Okay, so that's important. And there's a couple of cases where we have those. In fact, the very next one. But that is how you would build that. And again, you probably saw this in the class project 1, because there are several cases where you have to build these complex operators, code blocks. Okay, so I am going to assign the virtual snow project due before Wednesday's class, but I'm going to ask that you complete that project 1 class assignment if you haven't already turned it in. And for those who did turn it in, great job. We're going to be putting those up on our social media websites to show that we're doing some cool things in our coding class. So keep up the good work. We're done here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask, but I want you to complete the class projects and do the virtual snow project. And of course, I'm always available if anyone has any questions. Okay, any more questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Have a good day.